anything smaller, and all we say is, please, at least leave us alone in our living rooms. Never say anything, just leave us alone. Well, I'm not going to leave you alone. I want you to get mad. Got to get mad. You got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value.
And here we go.
Yun, live na agad. Good day. Hindi ko na sasabihin good morning or good evening. Good day. Hi sa Facebook and sa YouTube. I have a special guest again, Mr. JP Galido. Please check out his channel. I'll put the link on the bottom. Nagkukwentuhan lang kami, nag-aasaran lang kami, and then it just all of a sudden turned into something worth talking about. I think this will be a wonderful conversation piece. Just as always, kaya mahal na mahal ko tong taon to eh. Alright, let's talk about this. Okay. I think this is a good thing to start with. The question for tonight, is your vote an intellectual or emotional choice? Yan. Okay. So,
Yeah.
Banat.
Well, actually, napagandang question ito, di ba, pare? Kasi ito, I feel very relevant, di ba? Kasi I think a lot of us have always anchored a vote into something that's very personal. And if you remember, kung yung unang-unang beses na bumoto tayo, or ikaw, yung unang-unang beses na bumoto ka, I would imagine you have gone through an exercise. Ako, personally, I was so excited voting yung very first time. I think it was ERAP, yung nanalo ng time na yon. Pero natatandaan ko kung gaanong research ang ginawa ko at nag-boil down ako para kay Rocco. Diba? Kasi I felt that, it was an obligation, it was something that you need to really do. You have to do something to make sure na nagmamatter yung vote mo, na masasabi mo na proud ka sa boto mo. Ngayon, with all the things that have happened as you grow old, you would see that there are different ways people vote.
Mm-hmm.
Not different ways, siguro. Let me rephrase that. There are different ways how people get to their choice or vote. Maybe yan yung dapat nating himayin, di ba? Kasi, I think, ang pinaka-heated na conversation is your vote heavier than someone else's? Kung nag-research ka at nag-isip ka o pinag-isipan mong mabuti o gumawa o nag-spend ka na sobrang daming oras compared sa isang tao na parang nag-decision na lang kahit na walang research. Diba? Parang yun kasi yung naging argumento, diba? It's very, very heated. Yes. Ngayon ang tanong, diba? Ang tanong siguro sa marami, diba? How did you vote? Diba? Nag-research ka ba? O basically, nakapag-decision ka na the moment na narinig mo na yung pangalan. Diba? Ako, I have abstained. Diba? Nag-abstain ako sa pagboto just because of the fact that I don't think any one of the candidates have the merit na gusto ko. That I feel is the best way for me to be able to, save my sanity at the same time, not to get
caught up by the with noise. All of this.
Diba? With all the shit, diba, na nangyari.
Yeah, exactly.
People are really, really, are really, really into it, diba? And I didn't see that, there's any, there's people feel that strongly about, a candidate, and that's fine. That's really, really fine, because it's how, you should be. You should be passionate about the choices that you will be making, diba? But there might be some people like me who is more a little bit like,
logical.
Not logical. Definitely not logical. It's more of like, siguro ano, hindi gano'n kalaki yung bearing para sa akin just because of the scars. Yung mga scars na nakuha ko pagdating sa dating mga boto, 'di ba? Kasi
Mhm,
nga,
mhm,
history,
mhm.
at the end of the day, sabi ko nga 'di ba, none of the presidents have done anything personally sa akin. They don't even know
Yes,
me.
exactly.
'Di ba? Wala
Exactly.
I I don't think there's anything that was done by the national government na kung saan I felt na parang, "Uy, napaka-importante ko." Ah, but of course there are very good things na ako halimbawa appreciative ako halimbawa naging 10 years yung passport compared to 5 years. Yun, direkta akong na nag-benefit
Apektuhan.
doon.
Oo, oo,
Oo, so
exactly.
salamat ako doon kasi national
Mm,
government 'yon, 'di ba?
mm,
So
mm.
there are these small things pero yung mga halimbawa, I've been ikaw nataksan ka 33% malamang nung habang nagtatrabaho ka, 'di ba? Naramdaman ko ba 'yun na bumalik sa akin yung na worth it ba yung
Hmm, hmm.
33% every month na
Ah,
kinakaltas
ah,
ko na at
exactly.
least bumalik pa sa akin?
Hmm,
Ay, 'di ba? Parang parang wala naman, 'di ba? So that's the reason
mm.
why for me, yung mga scars na 'yon, those are the types of things na I feel that everyone would relate to, 'di ba? Lahat tayo ganyan, eh, 'di ba? Parang siguro pagod na pagod yung mga tao na parang every time that there are things na nagbabayad ka, naglalabas ka, tapos parang
You
wala nang
don't get
bumabalik sa'yo, 'di
value.
ba? Oo, 'di
Value
ba?
for
So
your
kaya
money, for your
siguro, 'di ba?
time. Mm.
Siguro that's the reason why people, you know, I really see hope on, on either Lacson, Isko, Lenny, or BBM, 'di ba? Na parang kasi yun yung ano, yun yung sinasabi nila, 'di ba? That there might be over-encompassing changes that would affect
Hopefully,
definitely.
inshallah. Yun nga yung sinabi ko, inshallah, this brings about parang a way for us to move forward, like as a nation. Kasi it has been a long while since we have been dispassionate about anything as a collective whole. Kaya I saw the positives and the negatives with all of this noise. Kaya natawa nga ako nung ano. Ito, your answer just brought about another question. How do we
Mhm.
define a vote? Do we understand the social responsibility of voting? Has it just been parang as an afterthought? It's a requirement, blah blah blah. However, it was an earned right for us as a nation. We have been conquered 3 times, if I'm not mistaken, or 4, if we count the current situation, di ba? We
Oo.
have been under foreign rule, Spanish, Japanese, American, then Japanese, and then now Chinese. I don't know, but pero 'di ba? We have to be honest about it. Ang masakit sa akin, I see people sell their votes. We take that lightly. We have forgotten the true value of what a vote means. A vote is an earned right paid by blood and the sacrifices of the heroes that came before us. Soldiers, statesmen, people who were assassinated because they were trying to make a change from past to present. Ang dami nating elected officials na namatay just because they wanted to bring about change. We forgot that. We never considered that in making votes. We cry about history, we cry about yung kung ano-anong opinions natin because of this person. We have been polarized by individuals. We have been polarized by the situations, the handed down tragedies, the handed down memories. We forgot the current. And I think because of the last election, we saw the changes, even if it's glossed over by yung mass media. We have to admit a lot of changes has happened. People are investing because of the build situation, yung build. Communities are being connected, bridges are being made physically and emotionally and culturally. We are getting closer to each other. Some remote places now have internet and we can communicate properly with them. they can bring out their goods. Social media is a double-edged sword. It has been a medium for other cultures to share their knowledge, to share what they are all about. Tapos we complain. Bakit? Idealism and realism. If we solely base our research siguro sa social media, then we're basing it on an idealist viewpoint bago tayo lumipat dun sa realism, di ba? Tapos ikaw, yung sinabi mo, you abstain because of principle. Isa pa yon, by principle, di ba? So, yun yung natatawa ko na we
Pare, may tanong ako sa'yo. Bumoto ka?
sige. Hindi.
Bumoto ka?
Hindi ako nakaboto kasi
Okay.
hindi kami umabot sa registration. It's sad.
Fine.
I really wanted to vote. I
Okay.
wanted to count kasi yung yung vote is one of the most almost religious experience that you can have as a national of a country. 'Di ba sa ibang bansa bawal bumoto ang kriminal? If I'm not mistaken, you're not allowed to vote if you're in prison.
Oo, talaga.
If I'm not
Hindi ko alam
mistaken sa
yan.
US. Oo, ang alam ko sa US, you revoke your rights kapag ka nakulong ka. If I'm not mistaken, that's what I remember. Kasi I think we talked about that parang last election na gusto nilang pabotohin yung mga nasa kulungan dito sa Pilipinas. How do you process that?
So ito,
Diba?
tanong ko. Follow-up question
Mm,
ko. So, kahit hindi ka
yeah.
bumoto, what was your process of, nakapili ka ng iboboto mo, presidente,
Mm,
ganito, ganito.
mm, mm, mm.
How did you come about kung sino yung boboto mo?
I looked at it two ways. Number one, I looked at accomplishments, background info. It's like I was looking for a friend. Kasi I wanted to relate eh. Kasi these are fucking strangers to begin with. I have nothing to do with them. Good evening, Sir Mark. Kung gusto mo mag-join, PM mo lang ako, iaakyat kita rito. I want to hear your thoughts on this. Natatawa ko kasi, yung misis ko, yung sister niya, yung mother niya, they all had different choices. They picked their own parang candidates. And they were very passionate about it. And I was like, okay, sige, let's look at it from this way. Kasi maybe I'm just fucked up in the head. I don't get emotional when it comes to things. Natawa ko nung tinitignan ko, sabi ko, would I want someone associated with a dictator, which is Marcos? Pero what were the good things because of his dictatorship? Would I want a president that is allied with a rebellious front, supported by rebellious individuals, promoting chaos and anarchy in my country?
Strong
Would I
words,
want to do that?
Very, very strong words. Very passionate
Hindi.
words. Okay. Ay,
Would
that's
would I
good. That's
want to
good.
do that?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, would I want to do that? Would I want to have them foothold again in my country? Of course not. I fought. I was there. I saw. I saw what they could do. So I don't
So may
think it's a
personal
good
affinity
idea.
ka. May personal ano ka doon. May kumbaga ano ka doon, talagang nagre-repel sa buong pagkatao mo yung bagay na yon. You don't like insurgency, you don't like terrorism, any type of those things. Okay. I mean, di
Naman,
why?
pre. Di ba? Di ba?
I mean,
Yun
di
yung
ba?
akin eh. Oo.
Again,
Yun yung
I
akin.
am
Oo.
I'm being neutral in my tone,
We have to be. Oo, we
right?
have to
Because I'm
be.
asking, di ba? Kasi nga,
Oo.
yun yung tanong di ba? It's very
Mm.
basic, di ba? And,
Mm.
okay, so tingin ko, pagkakari ko, yun yung pangalawa, ayaw mo nung pangalawang choice. Di ba? Ayaw mo nung dictator, ayaw mo nung isa. Okay, ano pa yung iba pa?
Yung other things na I looked at, track history, yung what they are able to do on their own without support, without majority support, 'di ba? And then what was behind the noise?
Okay.
What was really behind the noise? Why were they being supported, number one? Agenda. Parang 'yun. Kasi that's
Mm-mm.
more important to me. What's really behind the curtain? What's really behind the I wanted to peek behind the curtain, so I reached out to a few people. I I asked around na, so I'm just curious. This person is being supported by this person. Why? So I did my own digging. I saw a few things na since it's done, bakit hindi? Sige, pag-usapan natin. I think I saw an early post from Arnel Iglas, wait, local celebrity Arnel
Ignacio.
Ignacio. Oh, I saw a post from him discussing. I think it was his point of view on why artists were supporting the other candidate.
Di ba lang,
And
si
then
BBM o si Lenny, gano'n, gano'n ba
si
yan?
Lenny, si
Oh, si
Lenny,
Lenny.
oo, si Lenny. I think she was being supported by artists from Channel 2 simply because to have their channel put back on
Okay.
air. However, the fact of the matter is they could have done that without her help. They could have simply reapplied. Yun yung pino-point out ni Arnel
Kernel.
Ignacio na,
Oo.
oo, pwede mo naman i-file yan, pwede nyo makuha uli yan ng ganitong proseso. Ito yung proseso. Ayaw nyong gawin, gusto nyo by edict. So pag nanalo siya, kaya nyo sinusuportahan, pag nanalo siya, babalik yung channel nyo. Ganon. Yun yung parang in a nutshell na explanation niya. I don't know if that's a fact. I don't know if that's true. But these are things you have to consider. You have to look at. Di ba? These are agendas behind the curtain. Di ba?
Oo.
Tama? I don't know.
Hindi. Ako kasi pare, sabi ko nga sa'yo pare, believe ako sa'yo sa mga taong katulad mo na malalim yung pinanggagalingan, di ba? Kasi
Hindi.
di ba? When I hear those words and for me, ang layo-layo ko nga, di ba? Dito.
Hmm.
Pero because of social media, I get exposed on how people think of how passionate people are and for me, ano siya, near and dear sa puso ko ang pagiging pagiging Pilipino, ang pagiging 'di ba? Ang pagiging ano tawag dito? Nationalistic, 'di ba? Kasi ano siya 'di
Hmm.
ba? I mean, ano naman 'yan sabi mo nga military and stuff, 'di ba? Pag medyo meron ka touch of military hindi mo maaalis yan sa puso mo 'di ba? Kasi ano siya 'di ba? Ano siya, meron kang affinity talaga sa gobyerno.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
put it that
Yes,
way.
sir.
So,
Yes, sir.
pero ang bottom line ko is not about me. It's about the biases, 'di ba? Kasi ito,
Yun.
ito, iano natin yan na pare, i-debunk natin yung shit na to, 'di ba? Whether
Mm.
you're an intellectual voter or you're an emotional voter, 'di ba? Let let's see whether people who will be watching this shit, would agree with this, with these things, 'di ba? So ito kasi yan, 'di ba? May basic theory ako. Simple pare. Ang bawat, ang bawat kandidato is a product. Produkto siya. Para siyang kahit anong naisip mo na produkto, 'di ba? Sabihin mo na lang soft drinks, 'di ba? Ano bang mas masarap, Pepsi o Coke? And people have a very strong opinion over that, 'di ba?
Yes, 100%, man.
Oo.
100%.
So ngayon, what makes us, what makes everyone get, get hooked sa isang produkto, sa isang kandidato? Siguro yun yung pinaka-importanting tanong. Kasi ngayon, di ba, pumunta ka doon sa mga supporters nila, hindi pumunta sa supporters ni BBM, may mapapansin ka bang clustering ng demographics at profile? Ikaw, sa feed mo, sa mga napansin mo, meron bang pagkakahalintulad yung mga taong bumoto kay Lenny at may pagkakahalintulad ba yung mga bumoto kay BBM? Meron ba for you?
Parang nakita ko yung difference, yung major difference from like the two demographics, the red and the pink.
Mm.
The pink were too emotional at some point. I
Hindi,
saw my
demographics.
wife.
Wag pumunta
Uh,
sa
uh,
emotions, pumunta ka sa
sorry,
demographics.
sorry. Ah.
Punta ka sa demographics.
Yung both sides, they were, hindi, I really can't say na I could separate them equally. Number one, dahil my wife felt really bad because her group of friends, very, very close friends, they're friends from elementary to college. They got destroyed because of, hindi naman siguro completely destroyed. I don't want to use too much of a word, not very strong, but it got rifts between them just because of yung differences na to. Etong just this election, people left their chat groups, etc. Yung mga ganon.
Talaga,
Oh,
oo.
pre.
I can
Oh,
imagine, I can imagine. Kasi 'di ba, very
oh.
polarizing eh, 'di ba?
Yes,
Ito nga
yes.
parang hindi nga siya Coke versus Pepsi, parang Coke versus iced tea versus water, which is better, 'di ba? Parang gano'n, 'di ba? Parang gano'n ka polarizing eh, 'di ba? Na parang
Mm.
parang which is healthier or which is
Di ba?
parang parang gano'n ka
Diet
ano.
Coke or Coke? Ganun eh. Diet Coke or regular Coke? Parang ganun. It's the same product. And then, we're almost going to kill each other just because of that. Na, that's why we sa we parang we talked about it for like a good few hours na you have to understand na maybe they're pulled because of their immediate surroundings, maybe they're influenced by yung bubble itself, kasi we can't talk about this without talking about an echo chamber, the bubble you're in.
Okay.
If everyone around you like feeds you the information you want to hear, then it just reinforces everything. It's basically parang yung mass formation psychosis, just like the COVID
So
thing,
ngayon,
etc.
babalik ako sa'yo. Is a vote intellectual or emotional right now? Based na sa sinasabi mo.
From what I saw, it was too emotional, man. It was too fucking emotional, man.
So,
Diba? It was too
so
emotional.
and 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 ano, ayoko maging 'di ba, parang masyadong ano 'di ba, parang overcomplicated 'yung ano. But there's a science around it, 'di ba? Like any other marketing product, 'di ba?
Mm.
Itong let's accept this, 'di ba? I mean, parehong maganda ang positioning and marketing ng Team Lenny at saka ng Team BBM, 'di ba? Maganda. Kung produkto sila, 'di ba? 'Di ba? In terms of how they have, of how they have positioned themselves. Si Lenny, I think, really appealed in terms of kung ikaw yung tipo ng tao na who'd like to look at background credibility and, parang pagiging, sabi nga niya, gobyernong tapat, 'di ba? Yun yung messaging niya, 'di ba? Most probably magre-resonate sa yun kung pagod ka na sa mga, sa potential na corruption and everything. Most probably mag-aano sa yun, magre-resonate sa yun.
Yes, yes.
Kay
It's
BBM
one way
naman,
or the other.
it's unity, 'di ba? Very crisp message, 'di ba?
Mm.
Na parang, oh, sawa ka na sa bangayan, sa away, join ka na. Let's unify the country for once and for all, 'di ba? Parang ganun yung ano niya, yung messaging niya, 'di ba?
Oo, yun yung placement niya, yun yung parang product message niya, which I think, in a way, if we're looking at a product, if it's advertising, I think also the consumers of his particular brand did not try to snub nose anyone. They just kept their head down. They were just quiet about it. But yeah, once in a while, someone will of course be emotional at some point. But most of them just stood back. Alam mo yun? Kaya natatawa ko yung mga post na nag-attend ng rally ng Lenny team, inangat yung t-shirt sa mga pictures, nakapula sila sa ilalim. They just took advantage of the whole thing. They took the envelopes or whatever it was that was given to them. They took the food or whatever. But they had their choice. Diba? Diba? Tapos
I
ang...
don't know. Again, kasi anecdotal 'yan, 'di ba? Pero sa akin
Mm,
kasi
mm, mm,
this is how this is my, this is my very 'di ba? Yung dinadrive ko na ng mga puntos dito pare, ng mga angulo, 'di ba? Isipin mo
mm,
pare, 'di ba?
mm.
Again, I really feel or I really think, a vote is emotional. It's a political exercise done in a very emotional way. That's how simple. Gano'n ko pinapasimple 'yan, 'di ba?
Ah,
Na parang we are all exercising our right to vote as you have mentioned. Pero sabihin mo sa akin na, oh, nag-research ako, na ganito ako, ganito, ganyan, ganyan. Tapos
In the
pagdating ko sa
end,
pag-shade nun, dahil talagang pinag-isipan ko, no, it's still an emotional vote. Yan, yan yung ano, yan yung reality.
end all
And
be all yan.
and we are all persuaded by what? By two things, 'di ba? Na dinadrive mo, 'di ba? Positioning and messaging ng kandidato, ng produkto,
Yes.
'di ba?
Yung produkto. Oo.
Yeah. So sa akin kasi ano 'yan eh, 'di ba? Ang vote is, and compared to others na laging naniniwala na it's na it's sacred duty, na tipong para sa mga
Mm.
anak ko to ganito. Yes, again, you're talking about emotions.
Yes.
Na
Oo.
ginagawa ko to para sa kinabukasan ng mga anak
Mm.
ko. Pero sa totoo lang, in 6 years walang mangyayari kung wala ka ring gagawin. 6 years, ano, sabi ko nga eh, wala namang diretsyong nangyayari or na maging affect sa'yo kung sakali man na ano, 'di ba, na
Mm.
bumoboto ka for a candidate na kung saan fixed yung tenure at napakakonti na pwede niyang gawin, 'di ba? Kung hindi platform based, 'di ba? Parang gano'n, 'di ba?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
so sa when it's a stretch, when we say that, it's for my family. It's for my, yeah. So ano yan, parang feeling ko it's a stretch. She's dramatic. Pero
Mm.
res nirerespeto ko talaga yung proseso ng iba't ibang tao, whether it took them 1 minute to make a decision
Mhm.
or 6 months to make a decision para do sa boto nila, 'di ba? Ngayon ang tanong pare, 'di ba? Anong klaseng message ang talagang nagre-resonate kung Pilipino ka, 'di ba? Ngayon, 'di ba? Sa'kin kasi, 'di ba, being not a pro BBM, not a pro Lenny, 'di ba? And I think there's a huge difference between being a pro BBM versus anti BBM or anti Lenny,
Mm.
'di ba? Parang gano'n. So sa'kin, iba yung pro BBM, pro Lenny, anti Lenny, at saka anti BBM. Iba-ibang tao 'yan, 'di ba? May
Oo,
mga
iba-ibang tao, iba-ibang ano 'yun, oo.
ang sa'kin pare, 'di ba? Kung tatanggalin natin 'yan, babalik na tayo sa pure messaging nung dalawa, 'di ba? Why did Halimbawa, let's give the benefit of the doubt, 'di ba? Yung argument
Benefit.
ng mga ano, ng mga Lenny supporters that,
Mm.
Lenny is the most qualified na ano, let's give that. Let's give
Oo,
that
give it to
argument.
them. Oo,
Oo.
let's give in to that.
Oo. Pero balik tayo dun sa ano, na kung produkto siya, it's all about messaging and positioning, 'di ba?
Mm.
Feeling ko may malaking flaw ang messaging ni Lenny compared kay BBM. And that's the reason why, and even the positioning, the messaging and positioning pagdating sa kaya hindi siya nanalo. Again, it's emotional, 'di ba? Bakit? For me, sablay yung ano eh, sablay talaga yung pag sinabi mo na parang, okay, 'pag hindi ka bumoto dito, ang bobo mo. Puwede ba naman yun? 'Di
Yun
ba?
yung
Parang
pinaka ano,
'di ba?
I
Parang,
was
hey, you know what? There are people who are undecided. There are people who are not pro BBM, 'di ba? Na gustong malaman kung sino iboboto other than BBM. Ngayon ang tanong, papaano mo ako hihikayatin na ano, 'di ba? 'Di ba? Gano'n siya, 'di ba? It's a very
a
simple message,
lesson in hubris. A
'di
lesson
ba?
in hubris.
So yun yung messaging.
Ah,
Second, yung positioning. O, balik tayo sa sinabi mo. Parang ang pangit kasi ng positioning ni Lenny kung totoo yung sinasabi mo na she is hindi pro-communism, eh, pro-communist,
supported.
who support,
Supported by
ah,
mga ano, oo.
mm. Ang para sa'kin, whether it's true or not, na-position siya sa isang corner na kung
Hmm,
saan nobody likes that. Nobody wants to be supporting
associated
someone,
with that. Oo.
oo, 'di ba? So yun yung sa'kin, 'di ba? With all the political geniuses, marketing geniuses na ano, na pupuwedeng tumulong kay Lenny, sayang.
Sayang,
Messaging
sayang.
and positioning, 'di ba?
Ah,
So, di ko alam kung saan nagkaroon ng flow yung shit na yun, 'di ba?
the collective itself was too focused on the enemy at the time. They were not they were not considering a position of parang fair, yung pantay lang tayo. We're both
Mm.
people. You're not beneath me, I'm not above you. They immediately took into their mind, pero bago ako magtuloy,
Mm.
good evening, sir. Good evening sa lahat ng nanonood, kay Jekyll Erickson, kay Michelle, Mrs. ni Utol. Mark, when Lenny said that she is running to prevent a Marcos presidency, it really questioned her intentions for doing so. Saling pusa lang po. Sabi ko sa'yo, umakyat ka eh. So, yun. Yun yung, yun yung isa pang sinasabi ko, okay, let's just say that these people were just attaching themselves. Dapat yung grupo niya, yung faction niya, immediately detached themselves from that. Parang they shouldn't have associated with these individuals. They should have like a hot potato na, oh, hindi, we don't want you around. We don't want to be associated with you. I'm
Para
so
sa
sorry.
lang, ikakat kita.
Sige.
Nakikita ko si Erickson eh. Gusto kong marinig.
Mm.
Nakaano ba si Eric? I mean, pwede, alam mo, gusto ko
Pwede.
marinig kung ano ni Eric
Pwede
eh.
tayo magdagdag. Wait.
Tignan. Tanong mo ako si Eric pwede pare. Kasi ano yan si Eric eh. Maganda kausap yan eh. Sana hindi
ito,
pala
wait. Erickson. Wait lang. Ito. Psst. Wait. Ayan, minessage ko sa Facebook, sinendan ko ng link. Ayan. Hihintayin natin. Baka, malay mo, pagbigyan
Oo,
tayo
ano,
ngayong
Rick,
gabi.
tama ka pare ah. Kasi ito maganda ano, shy type ako. Gago ka.
Ayan, sinend ko na kamo yung link.
Nagkakwentuhan lang kami nito ni Joey kanina pare. Pero kasi nga ito feeling ko ano to eh, very ano to eh. I think everyone has a good opinion over this eh. Wala namang kasing tama't mali dito sa ano na to eh, sa topic na to eh, 'di ba? And I would
Yun yung
like to
lagi
hear your
kong, yun yung lagi kong sinasabi sa kanila na we're just simply having a conversation that we have never been allowed to have for a very long time. Like a conversation between friends na pagkatapos nito, respeto ko pa rin sa'yo, respeto mo pa rin sa akin, where we're not agreeing to disagree. No. We're just simply having a conversation, not intellectually, we're just fucking around. Di ba? We're just talking. Yun ang hindi ko magets eh,
music.
na
Music
people
siya.
got really touchy. You couldn't say anything na goes against one particular person against the other. Yun yung one. And I think yung perfect example dun sa sinasabi mong they were too emotional about it was end of friendship na tayo. Kasi yan yung kandidato mo. Na parang, what? You're trading ganito, ganyan para sa friendship natin? Baka nakalimutan mo, hindi mo kilala yan. Ako nandun ako nung wala tayong tutulugan, kumakain tayo ng asin. Di ba? Yung mga ganun, parang, what? Seryoso? Ganun
Kasi
kayo?
nga, and again, 'di ba? Hindi natin masisisi yan kasi emotion
Of course, I know.
'di ba? Yun yung na-narrow down na natin, 'di ba? That it's an emotional choice. Woo! Ayun, 'di ba? O pare,
You know?
Rick,
Pre,
gising
kumusta?
gising ka ba, Pops?
Kumusta? Julio, good
Hello?
evening. Yon!
Ayun.
Yan.
Naririnig niyo ako?
Yes, sir. Kamusta? Long time no see. Ay, mali. Focus lang kita. Wait lang, ha. Yan. Ikaw muna. Yan.
Hello, bro.
Ayan.
Good evening. Kamusta? Ay, good morning na pala. Alas 12 na pala. Dinig ka namin. May dinig ka namin. Hindi mo kami nadidinig? Wait lang. Dinig ka namin habang hindi pa siya. Hindi pa yata niya didinig.
Baka walang
Yun.
ano. Hindi nakaano.
Hello.
Okay, yun.
Yon! Dinig ka namin kanina pa. Oh, yun. Kamusta, papi? Long time no see, ah.
Ay, JP.
Pops, narinig mo ba kami? Narinig mo kami, Rick?
Hindi yata niya tayo naririnig.
Bro, wait. Hindi ko kayo marinig.
Sige, sige.
Yun. Sige, tuloy mo yung sinasabi mo. Sorry, tuloy mo yung sinasabi mo. Habang
Hindi.
hinihintay natin
Okay,
yung
okay. Balik tayo, 'di ba? Kasi ito
oo.
yan pare. Yung sa akin yung ano natin, it's very, sabi nga, a vote is a very emotional choice. Someone will claim, whether it's a pro BBM or pro Lenny or pro Escobar, na it's a very intellectual choice. Alam mo ba na, I mean, di ba, kung kung tatakpan mo nga lahat ng credentials ng mga yan, di ba, merong mga tao na magsasabi na parang tingnan mo lang takpan mo yung pangalan, tingnan mo yung credentials, gumawa ng resume, tapos tinakpan mo, makikita mo na tipong dapat hindi mananalo si BBM pagdating sa credentials. Supposedly, di ba? Pero yun nga First is that, I think sa Constitution wala namang qualification di ba? Na kailangan nakatapos ka or kung ano namang shit na meron ka dapat, di ba? Accolades na meron ka para tumakbo ng presidente. You just need to be 40 years old and some other things na kailangan mong qualify. Whoever made this criteria na kailangan maging intelligent yung vote mo is a what? is all BS for me, 'di ba? Again, people will hate it, 'di ba? Parang JP, 'di ba? Nakapagtapos ka ng kolehiyo, supposedly intellectual ka, ganito ganyan. No shit, Galing ako galing ako sa streets ng San Andres. Puta, I, I lived and breathed sa kalye at hindi yan magbabago, 'di ba? Na tipong I will always choose a street smart over a book smart. That's me. Ngayon, 'di ba? Kung ganun yung premise ko, 'di ba? Dapat si BBM yung binoto ko. 'Di ba? Kasi ano yan 'di ba? Parang ano yan kasi 'di ba parang mukha siyang 'di ba? Mukha siyang
Mas
someone na
street
parang
smart. Oh.
mukha siyang street smart, 'di ba? Pero sa totoo lang, hindi kaya ng nasikmura ako na iboto siya just because of the fact that hindi. Let me step back. Let me provide more context, 'di ba? Para sa akin kasi, nagre-research pa rin naman ako, 'di ba? At the end of the day, hindi relevant sa akin kung anak siya ng diktador o ng isang tao na convicted. Hindi kasalanan ng tatay nakasalanan ng anak yung kasalanan ng tatay. Naniniwala ka diyan. 'Di ba? Did he benefited sa mga yaman ng tatay niya? Yes. Did he live a luxury life? Yes. Pero hindi niya kasalanan yun. Pare, hindi niya kasalanan yun. 'Di ba?
Exactly.
'Di ba? I mean, I would do that. Kung ako si Ferdinand Marcos, I would do everything to give my family a good, a good, si JP ba ito na anak ni Mommy from Santa Ana before? O hindi.
Hindi. JP Velasco yung sinasabi niya.
Velasco. Hello.
Okay na? Dinig mo na kami? Hindi pa rin ata tayo nadidinig.
Hindi pa.
Dinig mo na kami? Hello? hindi niya tayo nadidinig.
Hindi pa rin.
So yun.
So yung sa akin, pare, di ba? Ang sa akin ang point ko, papi, is ganito siya, di ba? Ang very simple siya, di ba? Na parang the messaging is crisp. Okay. Step back tayo, pare, ha. Kung kailangan natin ng mga context.
Context.
Diba?
Importante yung context.
So first context, di ba? Let's say, ang sa akin, ang pagboto ko, proseso ng pagboto ko is that at least for this election, I'm looking for continuity. Yun yung general theme ko. Whoever has the capability to continue whatever this administration has done, I want that. Plain and simple.
Exactly.
If I'm not a pro BBM, if I'm not a pro Lenny, if I'm not an anti-BBM, one thing is for sure, I'm a pro PRD administration. I'm very, very clear about that. Why? I really like what he has done in the less than 6 years in power.
Exactly.
So I like that. So for me, continuity. Yun yung basic ano ko, basic ano ko, parameter ko. Kapag kaya mong i-continue yung ginawa ni PRD, most probably you'll get my vote. Okay? Ngayon, let's go one by one kung bakit hindi pumasok sa criteria ko yung kahit sino sa kanila, 'di ba? Let's go from the people that I considered. Lacson. Why? Number one, he might be a very, very credible na tao, but I don't think he has the political clout in terms of making things happen. Maybe he's a very good leader, pero kulang yung clout niya to make things happen. Hindi siya katulad ni PRD. Malayo. Day and night. Very finesse. Alam mo yun?
Mm, mm. Too
Sa,
clean in a way.
di ba? Sa Pilipinas kasi, ang Pilipino para sumunod, medyo kailangan, medyo barako ka. Pero for some reason, hindi na masyadong ano, di ba? So yun. Pangalawa, si Isko. I really love Isko.
Sayang. Sayang.
I really love Isko. I really thought that he's the best choice pagdating sa ano, sa mag-continue ng ano. Based sa ginawa niya sa Manila, I think he has all the makings of a very good executive
Yes.
person.
True. True.
Problema is, again, he's a dark horse.
Too early. I think it was just too early.
Well, tanggalin natin yung either too early or not. Messaging and positioning. Mag-focus tayo sa messaging and positioning.
Okay,
Diba?
okay, sorry.
Diba?
Tama.
So sa akin, yung messaging niya kasi is hindi, kung kinuha niya yung unity na messaging kay BBM, I think mas mataas yung possibility niya.
True.
Baka mag-second place siya. Baka.
True.
Diba?
True.
Diba? Kasi, biruin mo, diba? Ang ganda ng positioning, diba? O yung mga pro at saka anti, o dito tayo, mag-unite na lang tayo as one. Baka pwede, diba? At kung pinosisyon niya yung sarili niya as the Junior Duterte, baka pwede pa.
Sayang yun. Sayang.
Baka. Diba? Baka he could have capitalized on that one. Diba? Okay.
Sayang.
Lenny definitely will not be in the race just because of the fact that she doesn't like, she might have the capability to continue good project, but it seems that there are things that she will not adopt pagdating sa current administration.
True.
So
Projects.
basically, she was out of the running for me. Sa akin, ano ko. BBM, one word, sinabi na ni PRD, he's a weak leader. Yun yung sinabi ni PRD. Do I believe on PRD? But I don't know. I don't know BBM. I don't know, diba? Sabi ko nga, hindi ako naniniwala that Pero ang mas malupit na dahilan ko is because yung Department of Finance Secretary, yun lang talaga yung clincher sa akin para kay BBM na bakit hindi ko siya maiboto, is because I feel na hindi niya makukuha yung Department of Finance na secretary na si Dominguez. Kasi si Dominguez, I truly believe that is the reason why we have all the money na nagpautang, na nag-circulate sa Pilipinas dahil he was able to architect it correctly. Unfortunately, he's anti-Marcos. So I think dahil hindi niya gusto si BBM, I felt na parang baka may I'm missing something. That's the reason for me I have to abstain, 'di ba? Na parang okay, 'di ba? It seems that Isko is a great choice but messaging is off. Walang winnability. So it's either you're left with BBM or Lenny. Wala, 'di ba? So yung process ko, 'di ba? Again, ang basic theme ko is continuity. It's never about what? It's never about, hey, you know what, qualification, ganito, ganyan. Sa akin, simple. Kung continue mo ba yung project ng current administration? Diba?
Tropa to si Mark Lopez. Good evening. Dahil lang babati lang ako, Mark, babati lang ako, Paulo Gabriel de la Cruz, thank you. John Lavarias, eto na, Santi, good evening.
Share nyo na lang. Share nyo na lang para mas maraming sumali.
Yan. So, yun, Mark, maraming salamat sa pagpapaunlak. Ayun. So, sana naririnig mo kami.
Sir. Good evening, mga sir.
Good evening. Yan. So, Mark, habang nandito ka, total naka-lunch break ka lang. Ano ang perspective mo dito? Is your vote an intellectual vote or was it more of an emotional vote?
Pare, hanggang makarating ako sa presinto, I was undecided. But then, I had to to choose someone because it was a vote of outrage over the other. I guess my vote for BBM was not really I'm fully sold out with his platforms and his unity theme. However, I cannot take the toxicity from the other
No?
side.
No? Yun yung kanina eh, backstage kasi nag-uusap kami. So kaya kami napunta dito sa topic na to. Ibang totally different topic yung pinag-uusapan namin, financial. Tapos nadaanan namin yung tungkol dito sa botohan. Tara pre, broadcast na natin to kasi masaya na eh. Napunta kami dito. So parang yun nga, totoo nga na most I think of the votes were a vote of outrage dahil sa sinasabi ni JP na positioning and yung ano talaga, messaging. Yun talaga. Hi Ate Ana, Pao Panlilio, kung gusto mong umakyat, gustong-gusto ko marinig yung points mo. Pasok. So yun, tuloy lang natin. Yes sir, sorry. tuloy mo lang, tuloy mo lang. So a vote of outrage.
Yes.
So ito yung sinasabi ko kay Mrs. eh. Until earlier today, we were parang kasi na-hurt siya eh, dun sa mga friends niya na they had falling parang
Fall apart.
parang nagkaroon oo, their friendship was put aside just because of this. Na parang you guys were totally polarized because of this. Eh kami ni Manong, si Peter, nag-uusap kami, nag-aasaran kami. Pareho naman kami ng option at that time. Pero we were even going at great lengths na, hindi pre, ito yung tignan mo. Anong alam niyan? Ganon eh. That's how we were discussing the options we had. Na he was playing the devil's advocate, giving me more reason to vote the other than our original choice. Di ba? I mean, if we were approaching it that way, siguro sila at the time, I think it would have worked. Kasi sabi nga ni JP, she is the logical choice. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, di ba? Kasi ganyan, di ba? Para sa akin, di ba? Let's give the benefit of the doubt, di ba? Live in a bubble, di ba? Yun nga yung ano dyan, di ba? Pero ito kasi, Mark, ito pare, gusto ko marinig yung ano mo dito sa ano na to. So, di ba? Halimbawa, let's talk about the messaging of either camp, right? At ano ba ang goal na dapat ng kahit sinong kandidato? Isn't it having the most votes? Meaning, hakutan to, di ba? Hakutan. Meaning, kumbaga sa ano, popularity. Popularity contest to. Hindi ito about how intelligent you are, ganito. Ang problema, di ba? Don't you, at your point, I think this is what ito yung gusto ko sinabi mo, di ba? It's an outrage, di ba? It's ridiculous of how people try to, push you out by telling you, parang, ang bobo mo naman, hindi mo ba naisip na dapat hindi mo kinoconsider yan, magnanakaw yan, ganito, ganyan. Do you think, ano yung magpapainganyo sa'yo? What was the right message na kung saan magpapainganyo sa'yo to flip that? Na parang, hoy, gusto ko sumali sa inyo, na may influence ka nila. Meron bang mga words na tingin mo na nasabi dapat nila? Or dapat iba yung strategy nila?
Well, it was easier to identify with the messaging of unity. Ako, for me, that's easier to accept rather than point out what is wrong with this person and why you shouldn't vote for this person. It is easier to identify with the person who stays silent amidst all the besmirching and mudslinging because of politics compared to somebody who is the instigator of such actions. Not only her, not so much of her actually. It's
It
more of
was
the
her camp.
supporters.
Oo.
Sabi ko nga eh, when this election ended, I was so pissed with that bitch Rowena Guanzon. Putang inang yun. Ay, sorry.
Sino yun?
Okay lang, okay lang.
Nakakilala ko na yun. Okay, gets ko na. Oo.
I was so pissed with that bitch. Especially when she was making this speech about BBM not graduating or not finishing college. And then she was shouting on the top of her lungs amidst all these Lenny supporters, not realizing that maybe a good number of that crowd didn't also graduated from college. So, and, and I am hurting to see people clapping, not realizing that they are part of the mockery that this bitch is saying. So, hindi ko magets na ganun ka blinded na kasama ka na dun sa binabastos ng harapan and yet nakukuha mong pumalakpak just because you want this candidate to win. Naiintindihan ko why their choice is Lenny. I just don't agree with the messaging. Katulad ng sinasabi ng dalawa.
Yeah.
Doon sila
And
nasira
again,
eh.
I think that's it, right? Yun kasi yung feeling ko talaga that wins any election. Any person running for office. At kahit sino, kahit anong produkto naman, it's all about the messaging, right? But I think, very, very obvious that, and kung may post-mortem or mayroon silang bagay na, alam mo yun, if they are going to look back sa mga feed nila, sa mga ano nila, I think this is worth for them to look at, di ba? Yung mga natalo, di ba? Na parang, what did I do wrong,
100%.
di ba? One thing you have done very, very wrong is that, again, it's a majority, right? It's voting is a majority collective effort na kung saan lahat tayo dapat nagrally para sa isang cause. Ano yung cause na yon, 'di ba? Hindi to push out you out of my team.
Mm.
'Di
It's
ba?
to include everyone.
For
And
someone claiming na they are an intelligent vote, dahil ito pare, 'di ba? Basic. When emotions are high, intelligence is low. Diba? So for people who claim that they are the intelligent choice, dahil sa emotions nila, nagmukha silang hindi intelligent choice.
True,
And how
true.
can you win? Diba? How can you
Good
win?
evening. Good evening, Sir Pao. Maraming salamat sa pagpapaunlak sa amin.
Hey,
Dahil
Joe.
dito sa eleksyon na to, parang 8 beses ka atang laban sa Facebook, pre ah.
Actually, isa lang naman, isang beses lang naman.
Okay, okay, okay. Tuwa ako kasi tuwing nakikita ko yung ano niya, lagi siyang may bagong account. Putang ina to, bakit bago? O kaya ina-unlock niya yung account niya. So yon pre, gusto ko lang marinig, no? Gusto ko lang marinig. Um, yung topic kasi pinag-iikutan namin, was your vote an intellectual vote or was it a anong tawag dito? Was
Emotional
it
decision.
emotional vote?
Alright. For me kasi, you've seen my posts. It's really emotional. Kasi my family was a victim eh. We've lost a hell of a lot because of the Marcoses. And I've seen how my father suffered because of that. I mean, my father was a good man na even when Senator Onasan surrendered, he went through my father's club, the Rotary Club, para hindi siya ma-assassinate during the surrender. That's how influential he was and my family was. Now, we lost everything because of the Marcoses. And what hurts me the most, what driven me to go all out against the Marcoses, not the voters, not the supporters, is the disinformation. And that's the reason for the negative campaigning then. And they took advantage of that. So it's all the more reason that I have to prove the fake news wrong. Pero the thing is that troll army took advantage of that eh. Parang they're making bad guys out of those people informing. And I agree. Kasi yung approach is wrong eh. Let me educate you is like you
You're
degrading the
beneath
other
me.
person.
Degrading, eh, no?
You're
Medyo
beneath
masakit,
me.
masakit siyang pakinggan, eh, di ba? Eh,
Masakit. Masakit talaga. What would have worked
yeah, yeah.
if
Gusto
I
mo
was
rin yan.
part of those team is let me enlighten you. Di ba? It's
Enlighten, remind you, di ba?
oh,
People don't
that's more positive. Eh.
yeah. I
Positive
like that, di
scripting
ba?
lang ang nakatalo, papi.
Wow!
Yung
Dapat ikaw yung strategist, pare. Dapat naging strategist ka ni Lenny, pare. Kasi, di ba, those are positive words. Enlighten. Kasi people don't need to be educated anymore. Pag medyo matanda ka
Yes.
na, di ba, you just need to be reminded, di ba? Parang,
yes.
oh, bawal yan. Alam ko, pinapaalala ko lang sa'yo na bawal yan. Na medyo may masamang nangyari nung ganito. Di ba? Papaalala ko lang, di ba? Pero, yun nga, tama ka, di ba?
And ano,
Sayang. Those words could have worked.
and ano kasi, talagang, when, did you, guys, hear the Magic 899 interview? The
Hindi.
whistleblower? There
Hindi.
was a guy, Jam, and he admitted that he was part of the troll army. And nung nag-start yan around 2016, yung disinformation campaign, parang napansin ko na maraming bumibili ng Facebook accounts,
Oh,
ng
true.
Facebook pages. Kasi I was part of a group na selling gaming accounts naman. So from gaming accounts, people started buying Facebook accounts. And that's what they used for the disinformation campaign. So,
Wow. May tanong. Pwede ako maging devil's advocate, pare. Gusto ko lang marinig yung point mo dito. Di ba? Kasi, di ba, pare, merong disinformation. There's a concept of disinformation. Pero may concept din ng, di ba, may free will naman at the very end, di ba? Kasi nga kung emotional versus intellectual vote, di ba? To your point, di ba? People seems to be voting for emotions, di ba? Based on emotions, di ba? If we are persuading people not by facts, kasi this information seems to be anchoring on facts, di ba? Na parang, oh, ganito, ganyan, ganyan, ito yung facts, di ba? It seems that didn't really matter for people. My feed has been with both Lenny, Isko, and BBM, di ba? To be quite honest, wala wala namang sa feed ko na na BBM supporter na kung saan really said, hey, you know what? Look at the facts. Never. 'Di ba? Parang ano siya eh. It really, I think it's
It
immaterial.
went against
Yeah, it's immaterial.
them. Yung troll
Oh,
farm, it went against them, honestly. Tapos, sorry, Kex, good evening. Ma'am Wengsi, good evening. So yun,
actually,
from
magaling yung troll farm kasi. For since 2014 yata or 2016, parang binibuild up na nila that the Marcoses were the heroes and that they were the victims. Tapos they played with that emotion na parang eto yung period mo, nung dumating na yung actual campaign period, it didn't matter anymore because the public was already defending the Marcoses. So,
diba?
ngayon, whatever information you share, kahit tama yun, they don't care about it anymore. Kasi
Yeah.
they already see the Marcoses as the victims and the heroes. So,
So, babalik tayo, Pau, sorry babalik tayo kasi yung dalawang topic na pinag-usapan namin kanina. Dalawa kasi yung winning factor messaging and positioning. So, I
mhm.
think you're touching now the positioning that was made for Marcos. Kasi sabi mo kasi, ngayon, from nemesis, naging hero bigla sila. Victim pa. Di ba? From
victim pa.
positioning perspective. Di ba? At tapos pangalawa, yung messaging is consistent with that narrative. Na parang, kami talaga yung dito binisama, di ba? So it seems that that's the right way to win. It seems that that's the winning formula. That's with the majority vote, di ba? Ngayon, ang tanong is, di ba? Sa akin, ang tanong is really BBM a nemesis or basically swerte lang siya na anak siya ng mga Marcoses? Is he really, a front and center in terms of, nag-benefit lang siya?
Well, he did benefit, but kasi for me, he has the choice to pay the taxes. that he owes, 'di ba? And return whatever's left from what was plundered. It's his ano, it's his choice na eh. Because he's the current administrator for those. Now, I think na yes, he did play a good part in it. Kasi it's an ongoing crime eh. It hasn't stopped kasi you're still keeping the loot, 'di ba? And you're helping protect it. And right now for me, you're trying to unfreeze those assets eh. Yun yung nasa isip ko eh. Why would you
I
aim
see.
for a position like that? 'Di ba? You want to get away with your taxes, you can control the BIR not to send you those demand letters for the next 5 years. 200 billion supposed to be used by the government to fund whatever projects or pay our debts. It's wiped out, 'di ba?
So,
So,
That's
Joey, may tanong
where
ako.
oh,
see,
Ay, ito Ay, sige, go ahead, Joey.
hindi,
May tanong.
hindi, I'm thinking from what he said, I think that's where the majority or the people comes in. Kasi remember, once you're in power, you are now in the public eye. You can no longer hide behind the shadows. I think this will be a perfect opportunity for people to hold him accountable. Now,
Yep.
this would be a perfect way for everyone who wants to hold them accountable to keep them accountable. Number one. So now we have cast our vote. Now we have put him on the spotlight. Maybe I think, sabi ko nga sa'yo, unity, I think it's about time we wake up that there is true people power. There is real power behind the people. Kasi you were able to put him in place, now you can put him in check. Di ba? So, how do we do that? I don't know. I'm not a political science major, kaya iniimbitahan ko yung kapatid ko na graduate ng political science. Kaso, nasa trabaho. Bad trip eh, kasi ito yung gusto niyang topic eh. Sabi ko, putya, tol, sorry, nagtatrabaho ka eh. Hindi kita didisturbo eh. That's what I would like to hear, especially sa mga mainstream media. Yung mga experts talaga dito sa field na to. I think it's about time we start holding government offices in check. Kasi we forgot that we vote people into power and we can at any time in place. Ano yung office natin, Pau? I think you're familiar with it. May government office tayo na you go to file a case or file anything para imbestigahan something. Meron tayo ng office na ganun. Ombudsman. Yun. The ombudsman. The office of the ombudsman. Now would be a good time to do that. And I think this will be a perfect opportunity to wipe the slate clean. Buksan natin yung books ng Smartmatic. How is this really being done? Let's bring back confidence sa voting process. I think it's about time we do away with this emotional vote. Ibalik natin dun sa, I think that's federal, yung you're not voting for the person, you're voting for the platform.
mhm,
I think you also touched on dun kanina, JP, na sinabi mo, something to do with continuity. Kasi if you keep voting the same platform, regardless of the person, it's no longer a popularity contest. It's now the platform you're voting.
Actually, it's more of the ideology, 'di ba? Kasi lahat naman 'yan. So ito let's and again, I'm a little bit rusty kasi medyo ano naman 'to. So there itong mga 'di ba, Partido Demokratiko, and I think si BBM is Federalismo, tapos Lenny is liberal, tapos may iba pa na mga ano mga factions, 'di ba? I think, the fundamentals are there. The problem is the messaging, 'di ba? Kasi boring eh. Sabi mo, I'm a federal party representative. Can anyone really relate to that? No shit. No shit, 'di ba? 'Di ba? Yun nga sabi ni Mark 'di ba? Mark, 'di ba? Pare, 'di ba? Sabi mo nga at the last minute ano ka pa rin, 'di ba?
Just an
Undecided.
outrage.
'Di ba?
It was
Undecided. Hindi,
emotional.
undecided, 'di ba? Pero what's the deciding factor, 'di ba? Unity. Unity was a very concrete concept, 'di ba? Para sa akin, 'di ba? Kung concrete siya, 'di ba? Kung ideology siya, that's a great ideology. Gumawa ka ng faction na kung saan unity lang yung pinaglalaban mo, most probably mas marami kang makukuha na boto, 'di ba? And this is the reason why for me, again, babalik ako dun sa kay Pao na kanina, na parang sinasabi nga niya na parang, 'di ba, parang may mali din sa messaging nung kay Lenny, 'di ba? Because of, for whatever reason, 'di ba? Pero siguro, I want to hear Mark, 'di ba? In terms of do sa ano, 'di ba? Do sa thought process na gano'n, na parang unity seems to be a very very good concept. 'Di ba? It's a very very good concept. It's a very 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 tangible na pwede mong maintindihan, 'di ba? Do you ever felt na parang BBM is the right person to unify the country? Is it the
Hmm.
messenger or is it the message?
Uh, in terms of the messenger, to be honest, it will be very difficult to do because there are people just like the family of Pau who were directly affected, and I have to say this, that my heart does go out to the family of Pau and the attritions that his family suffered. I have utmost respect to those people who were inflicted so much by the martial law. And again, there's no debate in that kapag ka doon sa mga taong yon.
Victims, yes.
Much respect really for them. Now, for my part, wherein I voted for Marcos. Siguro, aside from the messaging, part of that thought process is I just thought that Marcos has a lot to lose with this presidency.
True.
If he fucks up, it it may spell the end of the political career not only for him but for
For
future Marcos.
everyone.
So tama na yes, there are things that he needs to straighten out in terms of the issue regarding martial law. But tama rin yung sinabi ni Joey na being the president, a lot more eyes are on him, and people has the capacity to hold him accountable because you are the fucking president of the country. And you cannot escape the interviews, you cannot
Yes.
escape the inquiries, you cannot
Yeah.
escape the eyes of the people.
So Pops, ako, ito medyo magiging devil's advocate ako dyan. Medyo kasi hindi ako convinced dyan sa ano yan. Just because of the fact that a president has an immunity. Yan yung
Mhm.
pinakamasama dyan, di ba? Para sa akin, for us to
Um,
test, for us to test the water just because of again, I'm nitpicking here, hindi yung general concept, yung ability us to hold someone accountable when he has that power of immunity seems to be like talking in both sides of your mouth, di ba? Parang, gusto ko maging accountable siya pero wala naman ding effect sa kanya, di ba? Yun yung sa akin na
I
concern ko sa statement na yun.
I think there is, kasi if you remember, we were able to hold ERAP accountable. Kaya gusto ko sana yung kapatid ko kasi he knows yung specific provisions, laws, etc. Even if you're a president, you're not above the law technically. There are specific guidelines which is already in part. I think that's one of the things they adopted during the 1987 Constitution. I'm just a history buff pero I don't know the specifics. Yung
Yeah,
utol ko kasi, he knows the specifics.
yeah.
Kaso yun nga, nagtatrabaho, sabi ko, maging politiko na lang para mas maganda ang buhay. Teka, bago lahat, sandali, no? Kinat ko lang kayo. Sir
Uh,
Sergey Arceo, totally agree. Hopefully those who will be keeping in check with those that have been newly elected will not get censored by those in power, especially its biased media arms and supporters. Of course, sabi ni Erickson, mahirap ma-unify ang Pinoy, sadya na yatang watak-watak tayo. We'll get to that, Eric. Sabi ni Julio Jose, Ombudsman. Thank you very much. Yung pala, Ombudsman. Office of the Ombudsman. And I think everyone in the executive branch is held accountable by the Ombudsman's office.
yeah.
Siguro yung second part ng ano, nung thought process ko, when I voted for Marcos, I was hoping to set the Filipinos free from martial law, the stigma of martial law. Well, I can't speak of families who have lost loved ones, who have loved ones na hanggang ngayon hindi pa nakikita or hindi nila alam kung anong nangyari.
True.
But I am more hoping for freedom for those people who were held captive of that specific point in time in our history that was not able to move on.
Mhm.
Look at us now.
Mm.
Na, martial law happened what 1984, 83, and then 2022. We're still talking
Still.
about it,
Yes.
and people are still hurting today, whether they have been victims or they are just identifying with themselves with the victims.
Mm.
For the victims, as I've said, my heart goes out for them, and I have utmost respect towards them. And they have all the reason to be angry towards the Marcoses.
Of
But
course.
for the others, I'm really hoping that they will be set free from the stigma of the martial law. Yes, it was a dark time in our history, but we need to move forward. Kasi every time that we look back to that point, nagre-regress tayong lahat eh.
Amen.
Uh, look at the presidents that we've had since Marcos, Cory, Fidel Ramos, Erap, Gloria Arroyo twice, and then
Erap Estrada. Lahat.
Duterte's an exception.
Mm.
So, actually si Duterte yung nag-intro nung freedom from the stigma of martial law when he allowed Marcos to be buried sa libingan ng mga bayani. Parang partly there was closure on that specific issue.
Mm.
Marami pang kulang, marami pang dapat i-address. And to Pau's point, I know the part of bringing in closure is
Mm.
acknowledging yung mga maling nagawa during that time. And I'm hoping, part of my hope is that in his presidency, BBM would find it in his heart to address those cry to be acknowledged, to man up and own what were the wrongdoings. It's quite impossible. We can say na it is impossible because of the so many years that have passed and hindi nangyari. But who knows?
Mm.
That's good. That's good. I mean,
Amen.
I think that's the general sentiment. Eh. I think that's the reason why it's an overwhelming vote. Eh. Kasi nga, spotting yung messaging eh. Ngayon, ang tanong lang is, are we looking at the messenger? Diba? Kaya sa akin, importante yung maisip, gusto magkaroon ng insight whether was it really relevant to sino yung messenger o kung any one of them is Lacson or have done that, can it be as powerful as the effect?
Yeah.
Diba?
Exactly.
Nobody, it's a hypothetical question. It's a rhetorical
Mm.
question, quite honest, diba? But, I think yun yung general sentiment eh. And I'm hoping, di ba? I'm hoping that unity is not a one faction message, di ba? It should be used by any, by any of these, di ba? Na mga ano, di
Everyone.
ba? Everyone, di ba? Whether liberal ka, whether federal ka, or, or yung demokratiko ka, kung ano man yung inaano mo, you should be able to say that let's unify the country. The polarizing messages, the negative campaigning was really hurtful
It
for
need.
not the campaign itself, but for the people on the ground. Yun yung pinakamasamang effect nitong feeling ko nitong election na to, eh, 'di ba? Na parang people are really, really talking about things that is near and dear to their heart. Tulad nga ni Pao, 'di ba? It's near and dear. Nobody will ever understand the pain, 'di ba? sa ano na to, unless na biktima rin kayo ng pamilya, di ba? The problem is that, it's may hinahanap yung mga tao eh. Sabi nga natin, kung ang politiko ay isang produkto at messaging at positioning ang magpapanalo sa kanila, di ba? Could Lenny have won if she steered the campaign in a direction of unity? Could she be a good messenger of that message? Yeah. Instead of saying, hey, you know what?
Let
Let's
me educate you.
Di ka, sobrang dami kasing messaging eh, di ba? Actually, sa totoo lang kung yung messaging eh, other than
Ah,
angat buhay, di ba? Parang gano'n.
Angat buhay.
Oo, di ba? So, maganda sana laban kung pare-pareho sila ng unity, di ba? Na of course, hindi pa rin siya magiging factor para sa akin kasi I'm looking for continuity, di ba? I'm really looking for continuity, di ba? So, again, I don't think BBM has the skill set to be a Duterte or the ways that Duterte has did it, 'di ba? But I'm
we have
hopeful, 'di ba?
6 years.
'Di ba? Sa akin support, 'di ba? I'm going back to the Aquino. I didn't like the Aquino administration. Pero dahil siya yung nanalo, support. 'Di ba? Support ka lang.
Oh,
Ay, bayad ka ng tax mo, pasok ka sa trabaho, gising ka sa umaga, take the shit. 'Di ba? And then you move on, 'di ba? So I'm taking the same stance for BBM, 'di ba? Parang, but for me, to Joey's point, I want him to be accountable, 'di ba? I want him to be, take the win humbly, 'di ba? Overwhelming vote since 1969.
we will see.
Napakatagal na nun, 'di ba?
We will see.
Overwhelming vote, 'di ba? Since 1969. Wag mo na islagay yung 86.
Mm.
Number
We
one,
will see.
'di ba? Then second is that make sure that we can hold him accountable by us being allowed to criticize. Be able to accept criticism. Hindi sa akin yung ombudsman medyo high in the sky na yan eh. Parang para sa ordinaryong Pilipino, hindi ko magagawa yan, 'di ba? Hindi ako makapag-file ng kaso for impeachment. But for me, pag criticize ko si Marcos tulad ng ordinaryong Pilipino, yung mga pro BBM or loyalist should be able to say, yeah, because for me, who abstained my vote, 'di ba? Who
Goes both
abstained,
ways.
I should be able to freely speak my mind based
Of
on
course.
my parameters, 'di ba? 'Di ba? Right to speak, 'di ba?
Mm.
And my ability to speak is not heavier than Pau. I'm sure
Exactly.
si Pau mas,
Exactly.
'di ba? Parang kung hindi pantay baka mas mabigat pa nga yung kay Pau eh. 'Di ba? 'Di ba? For Mark naman, 'di ba? I think, 'di ba? And I think he would also agree that being on the fence at the very very last minute, 'di ba? Yung affinity with BBM is not as strong. May mga loyal talaga, 'di ba? May mga loyalist talaga na siguro may pagpatayan para sa messaging ni BBM. I cannot do anything about that, 'di ba? But let us express our right to speech, 'di ba?
Free
Yun
speech.
kasi yung
Right to free
pinakamahirap
speech.
na feeling ko na sa akin nawala sa atin for a very long time before Duterte. Parang ang gulo eh, 'di ba? It's either pwede ka magsalita talaga, pero kailangan ibabash ka. Hindi pwedeng walang respeto, 'di ba?
Yan,
Parang
yan, oo.
hindi ko alam kung bakit tayo
One
nagpipilitan ng ano eh.
one of the things na nakikita ko, just to relate it with yung kay Pau, I think that's where the troll farm comes in. Yung pambabash sa'yo whenever you say anything about a particular topic. Now, I
Actually,
think there should be...
troll farms
Sige,
eh.
go. Oh, go,
It's
go.
not just the troll farms eh. Ang nangyayari kasi ngayon is yung parang idolatry na eh. So, Duterte, for example, yung mga fans ni Duterte, hindi nakikita yung mali. It's all about the right. 'Di ba? There are things that he did wrong. 'Di ba? Si Sinas, si Duque, parang just giving them a free pass. That's like a
Exactly.
red flag na I can let them get away with this. I can
Mhm.
let my close friends get away with whatever they want to do. Parang ganun. But, but, yung supporters niya wouldn't even mention that. And if you mention that, babatuhin ka na, ba't yung ganitong presidente? Ba't yung ganito? 'Di ba? So it's
Yeah.
ano eh, naging ano na siya eh, idolatry na siya eh, hindi na siya ano eh, hindi na siya basta support. Kasi yes, you support your government, but if you see something wrong, you should
Say
criticize.
something about,
Ang
yes.
problema kasi ngayon, if you criticize, you end up being the bad guy.
Would it be more of yung mode of criticism, like the language, the placement, the choice of words,
Well,
or would it be more on, I think it's been for the past, let's say, 10 years, uh, the social media platform has been a wild west. We have to admit that there were no rules, there were no liabilities, there were no accountabilities for anything and everything you said online. You could hide behind like a fake name, you could hide behind an anonymous, etc. So I think this is one way of us taking advantage of a platform. Let's let's start being held accountable. I think there should be accountability online. I think it's a good start na may mga nakakasuhan na ng libel. People coming out behind their name. Si yung nasa Senate inquiry, sorry, anong name niya? Think Pinoy ba 'yon? Something.
Pinoy, RJ Nieto.
Oh, yon. So he got exposed. He went in court. He went in front of the Senate. I think we should start doing that, holding people accountable for what they say online, so that we are going to bring back the value of words, the power of words. Kasi this is where it starts. I mean, we can't hold anything sacred without the power and sanctity of words. 'Di ba? I mean, I
Siguro
think we have to values. Yes, sir. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
if I'll bring a biblical perspective to it, the good book says, let your yes be yes and your no be no. So I guess yes, I agree that the importance of you being held to the words that you say, yung credibility ng
Mhm,
tao,
mhm.
napaka-importante. Siguro it's high time that we bring it back not only to our politicians, but
And
even
in
to
everyday life,
sa lahat.
individual, o
Yes,
individual accountability, individual self-responsibility, individual checks and balances. I think we have to go back to that. We have been living our lives represented by other people. We are living our own lives because of social media, yung idol nating social influencer. We have been living lives other people live. I think it's about time we start living our own lives. We get held accountable for it, for our own words. Siguro, ewan ko I'm not being holier than thou with my words or
Let
whatever.
me ask you this, pare, 'di ba?
Yes,
Do
sir.
you really
Go
want
ahead.
someone, what do you call it? Uh, auditing you on what you say?
Ano yan? Ano yan?
Do you
Sorry, sorry,
really
sorry.
think that someone should be auditing you and checking on what you say? Yun ba talaga
If I
yung talaga yan?
if I speak from a soapbox, I think I should be. If I have a platform that speaks to, let's say, 1,000 people, Jesus Christ, you're influencing so many. Remember that. Kaya ako, when I did this, I wanted to keep it small. I didn't want it to grow as 172 people. No, I wanted just one person to really listen to what I was saying. Now we were open to talk. Na I can be honest with myself, and if I say anything wrong, please check me. Please tell me, dude. you're saying bullshit, man. Kasi I wouldn't grow if I'm just, alam mo yun, I wouldn't grow as a person. Kasi sabi nga nung airpods ko, Nisit Varmisa Reverti, the spoken word can never be recalled. I did this because I wanted my children, at least in one way or the other, to hear my faults, to hear my words na tangina airpods ko parang gago kapag nakainom puta kung ano pinagsasasabi. Oh. 'Di ba? 'Di ba? Kape lang naman iniinom mo para kang lasing, tol. Ano ka ba? Ganun kami mag-usap kasi nung anak ko eh. Na I'm so proud that he gets to talk to me about religion, about politics, about anything and everything in the sun because of this. Kasi they get to know me as I am, not as a father. He gets to know me as Joey. And wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be nice if we were able to do that to each and every one of us? To get to know you behind your mask. Kaya we have to be accountable. Kasi you're taking off your mask, you're being vulnerable, you're speaking your mind without without considering yung magugustuhan ba niya ako? Okay ba sa kanya? You're not playing a part. You're being honest. And I think that's what we're doing here. We're speaking as Pao, we're speaking as JP, you're speaking as Mark. 'Di ba? I think it's about time we start speaking our mind. Like, really speak our mind. Let's scratch the surface. Let's scratch beneath. Bakit po binoto yan? Was it an intellectual vote? Was it an emotional vote? Diba? Well, let's talk about religion. Yun yung original plan ko eh. Let's talk about all fucking taboo subjects. Let's break the fucking barriers, diba? Diba? Let's talk about anything and everything under the sun. Honestly.
Yun nga eh, that's great eh. Kasi we, parang ano tayo, nasa turning point tayo na we have to let go of the old ways and adapt to the changes that we're experiencing now.
Yes.
So, agree ako dun sa mga topics na gusto mo. So, ayan, minsan silent viewer lang ako, madalas.
Nakikita ko nga, oo. Kaya salamat ako sa inyo lagi. Ito si Mark, ito si Pao. Si JP magme-message pa sa akin. Tol, dahan-dahan ka naman sa pagmumura mo.
Well, actually, ano,
Diba?
yun ba? Cursing, sarcasm, I mean, it's, hindi na siya, ano, hindi na siya definition na pagkapalamura, masamang tao eh. Di ba? It's a form of expression na lang eh. So
Yeah, agree.
70s, 80s, siguro, you curse a lot. Ang inasiga yan, masamang tao yan. But nowadays,
Kalbo, masamang tao. Puro tato, masamang tao.
namimiss ko na yung red na lens mo.
Hindi ko makita, tinago ng misis ko kasi ayaw niya yun eh. Bad trip siya doon sa pula kong salamin. Bad trip siya doon. Hindi ko makita, hindi ko alam kung na-misplace ko ba or whatever. Pero yun, I'm very sorry sa mga nanonood sa Facebook na nagko-comment. Kasi yung platform na ginagamit ko, free lang. So, hindi ko ma-share yung comments nyo from Facebook kasi live tayo on Facebook and YouTube. So, yung mga nasa YouTube, yun yung pwede kong i-show na katulad nito, yung ganyan. Yan. So, pasensya na kayo. Pagka nagkatrabaho na ako ulit, pwede na ako magbayad nito. Sige, tutuloy-tuloy ko na to. Isang oras at 28 oras na, 1 hour and 28 minutes na tayo. Maraming salamat sa inyong lahat. I think this deserves a part 2, pero I'll give everyone just your final thoughts. Pao, ikaw na mauna since nandiyan ka sa yan.
Right. Unity, ano, it's a great platform, but for me, being part of one party that caused the division in the first place, I don't think he's the best catalyst for it. He could be, given that the wrongs done before are acknowledged. I mean, not even an apology. Kasi for the most part, he didn't do anything about the human rights violations. He has nothing to do with that. But the rest that happened after that, um, living off the people's taxes and the government funds, that's something you should at least be sorry for. So
I'll let him know. I'll tell him that. I'll
Text
tell
mo
him that.
later, pare.
Hindi,
Text mo.
I'll
so
let him
that
know.
as a
No,
people, not just one individual, it has to be a united effort
yes.
of everyone, both from his side and the others. So
Yes,
ayun.
very true.
So for me, no Marcos or Aquino is qualified to be a catalyst for that so-called unity.
True, true.
And that,
Amen.
Hindi ko sinisira yung moment mo, Pao. I loved what you said. I just had to do that kasi parang nagiinuman lang tayo, Pao. Alam mo naman ako mga
yes.
asar. I love you, Parabi. Thank you. Thank you very much. Mark, tayo na, haba ng lunch break mo, ah. Hanip, ah.
Siguro, I, I'd like to appeal for the 31 million who put or who have placed Marcos Jr. into power. Natapos na yung election, he's about to win. I guess we should transition to having a greater share of responsibility since we are the ones who voted for him to hold him accountable, to keep him in check, to ensure that the apprehensions and reservations of those people who have not voted for him gets to be addressed and gets to be dealt with. Especially Paul's point na yung mga atrocities during the martial law era. Yung hinihingi ni Pao as a family of a victim of it is not too much. He is asking for acknowledgement. Hindi na nga niya hinihingi na mag-sorry. I guess that wouldn't be too much to ask from a person. And if he is really true to his message that this is about unity,
Mhm.
to do that. I hope he gets to do that before his term ends. Now, if there are viewers who are part of the liberal or who supported Lenny, I would like to call them out that they stop their rhetorics, especially this toxicity. Kasi if they have any intentions of winning 2028, which will be against Sara Duterte,
Mhm.
if they continue on with this type of rhetoric and the postings that they are doing in social media, they will lose even bigger compared to this one. And again, thank you for having me here, guys.
Of
Maraming
course, sir.
salamat.
Of course. Anytime. You're welcome anytime, sir. All right. There we go. The man from America. Here we go.
Eh, sa akin pare I am a man of optimism and positivity. I would love to to think that way. Hindi special yung hinihingi ko as ordinaryong Pilipino, eh, 'di ba? For someone who never voted for any of these candidates, it freed me from any affinity or any untowards emotion tungkol sa mga choices ko. But I think my voice is not different kung ano yung sentimento sa ground, 'di ba? I think Mark's spot on, 'di ba? Sabi nga niya, 'di ba?
Mm.
Hindi naman dini-deny yung mga nangyari in the past. I personally think that the most of the people who voted for BBM is aware about martial law, is aware about the ill-gotten wealth, is aware about the cases. Hindi to blind vote. Hindi to basta-basta fanaticism ng
Mhm.
Part of it, yes. But I think what really stick sa messaging nila is unity. Pagod na kasi yung mga tao eh. I personally, alay-layo ko dito. Alay-layo ko dyan. But I want unity.
Abot.
Abot eh.
True. Abot.
Din- ah, So, tinamaan ako doon sa message na yun, di ba? Ang problema ko lang talaga is see the right carrier of that message.
Messenger.
Oh, siya ba yung messenger dapat no message na yun? Unfortunately, walang iba na carry no message na yun. Di ba? So,
Unfortunately.
unfortunately, di ba? But that's what we need. I think yung mga words na let's heal our land, let's move forward, yun na kasi yung gusto ng tao eh. Di ba? Yung toxicity is a symptom eh. Hindi yun yung root cause eh. Sintomas lang yan
Yes.
ng mga nararamdaman ng maraming
Sa
maraming tao
product.
na pagod na, 'di ba? Pagod na kasi, pagod tayong lahat, 'di ba? And how do you retaliate, 'di ba? Minsan ang pinakamadaling kalabanin pag hindi mo kayang sapulin yung nasa taas mo, yung mga nasa level mo, 'di ba? Or nasa baba mo, 'di ba? Yun yung ginagawa ng mga tao na who's defending either camp. 'Di ba? Walang santo dito. Lahat tayo, we are operating as a Filipino concerned for our country, trying to express our mind in a free marketplace of idea or in the marketplace of ideas, 'di ba? Kung sino yung pinakamagandang message, siya yung mananalo. So, one thing, 'di ba? To cap this off, right? Lahat tayo gusto ng unity. Lahat tayo gusto natin mag-heal yung land. Ang tanong is, who will take the higher ground? Dapat, kung sino ka man, di ba, you take it. Hindi maghintay ka na parang pag sinabi ng isa na parang hindi eh, siya yung nagsimula eh. Magsimula man siya o hindi, you take the high ground. Di ba? Hindi ito about, am I more intelligent, may degree ba ako, wala. You cut it, di ba? Tayo, sa atin magsisimula naman lahat ng mga shit na yan eh. Kasi nga, di ba, I like what Pao said, di ba? Tanggal na naman yung mga barriers eh. May tattoo ka ba? May pinag-aralan ka ba o wala? It's about what? It's about just, hey, you know what? Respeto natin yung mga ideas natin. We can disagree. Pero magkaibigan tayo. Hindi kita ipuput down. Hindi ko titingnan kung may pinag-aralan ka sa akin, kung mas may natapos ka sa akin. Dahil sa totoo lang, yung mas maraming tao na mas mababa yung pinag-aralan, pero mas maraming na-achieve sa buhay. Kasi,
Oh,
'di ba? Hindi yan about being book smart. It's about relationships. It's about how you deal with what? With shit, 'di ba? Maraming bagay na kayang i-take yung mga tao na mas mababa yung pinag-aralan kasi they've been through more, 'di ba?
Adversity. The
Adversity,
power of adversity.
'di ba? Failure is the greatest lesson para sa ating lahat. Pero I think, we will never move on without us knowing how to handle this power of free speech. 'Di ba? Two things, when you're receiving a message, can you process it? Can you stop the hate? And the second thing is that can you convert whatever you're thinking into a more palatable way so that people will be more accepting sa message mo. Communication is a two-way street, and I think we failed miserably in this election of how to communicate well.
Amen. And with that, I will bring this to a close, an hour and 38 minutes. Thank you very much for staying. Siguro ang final words ko is, number one, the power of the spoken word. You can't take that back in any shape or form. Touch move yan. Basahin ko lang yung sinabi ni Toto sa Facebook. Sorry to. There will be, we are in a beginning of a revolution, socio-economic global impact. There will be no unity, only majority in any form of organization. I'll say this to you. There is a very famous quote ni Nietzsche, God is dead. And it's been used so many times in so many forms to prove a particular point. However, they didn't scratch the surface of the message. I'll read you the full quote. God is dead, God remains dead, and we have killed him. How shall we comfort ourselves, the murderers of all murderers? What was the holiest and the mightiest of all that world has yet owned, has bled to death under our knives? Who will wipe his blood off of us? What water is there for us to clean ourselves? What festivals of atonement, that sacred games shall we have to invent? It is not the greatness of this deed too great for us. Must we ourselves not become gods simply to appear worthy of it? Most of the time, when we succumb to ideologies, when we succumb to slogans, banners, we are being played. There's an agenda behind it. If people use if people use slogans, there's an agenda. That there's an end all be all. Let us remember. Let's put God as the same as unity. We hold that responsibility. We hold to unite each and every one of us in our hands. It's how I relate to you that makes us friends, brothers, not by blood, not by kung taga Ilocos ka ba o taga Visayas ka ba, taga Luzon ka ba, or wherever you're coming from, or taga Mindanao ka ba. We are brothers if we believe we are brothers. If we have faith in each other, we are brothers. It doesn't matter who your president is. It doesn't matter who your God is. It matters how you represent your words and your belief. If you can embody your words, then I think you're in the right path. Thank you very much. Life is about making choices. Have a beautiful